Hey, it's me, Andrea Reynolds, aka the Social Studies Whisperer. I'm a native Atlantan living in Asheville, North Carolina. This week, I bring you episode 9 of my weekly Top Hits Show and companion Historical Happenings blog post, which you can find a link to in the show's description. What's a top hit, you ask? Well, there are 3 historical events that occurred this week so that you can plan ahead to use them in class or mention them some kind of way. These helpful ideas may integrate literacy, technology, and support a wide range of learners. From what I've seen, social studies doesn't seem to be a priority in education at all. So what's a teacher to do? Just skip it? No way. Integrate literacy, but also use these little pockets of time whenever you can to incorporate more social studies. My solution will be using these quick tidbits. Bus call, lining up for recess, transitions. You've got a spare 5 minutes here and there. I'm going out of my way to share these fun facts because you never know what might spark an interest in you or your students. Let's get started with This Week in History. Top Hit 1 happened on October 22nd, 1962. It was the official beginning of the Cuban Missile Crisis. On this day, President Kennedy gave a televised speech declaring that Soviet missile sites had been discovered in Cuba. They'd actually been discovered the previous week by American spy planes. Why was this a concern? Because Cuba is only 90 miles away from Florida. Kennedy demanded the missiles be removed, which didn't go over well at all, obviously. Things were extremely tense between the two superpowers for about a week until the Soviets decided to remove the weapons. Kennedy agreed that the U.S. would not invade Cuba, but the relationship between the two countries remained strained until 2015. There are so many great political cartoons from this era to utilize with students. This one of Kennedy and Khrushchev is one of my favorites. Have students draw their own. I have several other suggestions. Do you use Flocabulary.com? I love it so much, I became a Flocab MC educator, which means I'm a brand ambassador. Try out the Cold War vocabulary clip. They offer a free trial. Do you use DocsTeach? It's a separate database of primary sources and lesson plan ideas for teachers and students from the National Archives. In the companion blog post, I share a link to a Cuban Missile Crisis activity from it, along with a link to the JFK Presidential Library in my Pinterest board for this time period. I also have a Cold War web quest, picture dictionary, vocabulary card set, and jigsaw that include the crisis that are available for purchase in my Teachers Pay Teacher store, The Social Studies Whisperer. Next up is Top Hit 2, the establishment of the United Nations. This happened less than 2 months after the end of World War II in 1945. Its headquarters is in New York. I actually got to visit there in high school. Also, back in my high school days, being the history nerd I am, I participated in Model UN in downtown Atlanta. I asked my son if he had heard of Model UN, and he said he thinks he has, so hopefully it's still around. Have students compare and contrast the League of Nations versus the United Nations. Discuss why the UN succeeded and why the League of Nations failed. I mentioned vocabulary for the Cold War, and guess what? There is also a United Nations unit. Did you know that with each one of these videos, there's also a whole set of teacher resources, a vocabulary game, a quiz? Once again, I don't work for vocabulary, although I would love to. Okay, as a true creative, I want to make sure I include some arts and literature. So Top Hit 3 is a mashup of celebrity birthdays of the past and present. October 23rd is the birthday of Michael Crichton, which might be of interest to students due to the resurgence of the Jurassic Park phenomenon. Also, on this day, the late Johnny Carson was born. So many greats visited Carson during his 30-year run. Carson paved the way for the modern-day late-night show. His show was later hosted by Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, and now Jimmy Fallon. On October 25th, legendary artist Pablo Picasso was born. And October 27th brings us the birth of Teddy Roosevelt and poet Dylan Thomas. Everybody my age knows the words to Thomas's "Do Not Go Gentle and That Good Night" thanks to the movie Dangerous Minds. Am I right? This wraps up the top hits of October 22nd through 27th. This week also marks the signing of the Patriot Act, the gunfight at the OK Corral, and the first person to roll in a barrel over Niagara Falls. Learn more about those in my blog post. Find it in the description and sign up for a weekly reminder at bit.ly/SSHooks. You'll get my free lesson hook cheat sheet too. But wait, there's more. Are you on my Facebook group for teachers called Social Studies Salute? I'd love to have you. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to let me know if you used any of these top hits. See you next week for episode 10.